Okay, here's the side-by-side size comparison. There's a scope, a little tiny 4x40 scope there for scale, and my iPhone Zeiss, barely bigger than my IOR 9-36. In fact, I'm not sure it is. CTC, that's 30 times fixed, 75. 75 ocular objective, and then this is the CTS, which is 85. Okay, all compact, but the Zeiss is very impressive. 18-45, really small. That genuinely is something you can sling in a rucksack. But of course it doesn't collapse down. I'll now do the collapsed sizes for you. Okay, same deal. Zeiss obviously doesn't collapse down, so that is it there. That's the CTC and the CTS. CTS is, and there's the rifle scope, so you know we're talking really pocketable. The CTS is much bigger for the 85, and it doesn't make it much brighter. So it's longer and bulkier without any optical advantage. So the CTC is a lovely mix of portability and you know, optical performance. The Zeiss is super compact, but optically it's very sharp, but it isn't quite as punchy as the Swarovski, which we'll discuss when we review them individually. But you can see here the sort of scales we're talking about. These are mighty compact compared to spotting scopes. Okay, I needed a spotter that would be very sharp at long range for spotting, you know, 800-900 yard rabbits. I wanted it to be rugged and portable and not desperately heavy. And I spoke to Swaro and Zeiss, who both agreed to send their draw tubes, their compact spotters, to be compared for my purposes, which is partly spotting bullet holes in targets, but predominantly for long-range scanning. Long-range scanning requires good edge-to-edge sharpness, or it makes you feel a bit woozy. It helps if there are lens coatings that keep water from misting on the lens. Resolution is crucial because you're looking for very small things in not ideal light often, and you know, it's very, very testing, scanning around and trying to find instantly the difference between a molehill and a rabbit at very, very long range. So these guys have got to be good. So what we have here is the CTC Swarovski draw tube. This is a fixed 30 and it's a 75 objective, and it folds up, as you'll see later. Really nice and compact. Armoured, lovely Swarovski green, Swarovski logo. Very elegant, very tough design. It's really chunky. When you push the extendable bit in, it just doesn't flex at all. It feels really, really beefy. It also helps give you confidence in its waterproofness because it isn't actually sealed, because the air has to come in and out when you close the draw tube in and out, and that can concern you with regard to misting. But I've used it in some rough conditions, and I've spoken to other people who have, and unless you extend it and suck air in a stream, you're not going to get anything inside it that's of any relevance. So I had a concern, but nothing's come of it. You know, I'm confident in it now. Which brings us to the Zeiss, which is a more sort of mainstream design in that it's a sealed normal unit. It's got a zoom on the back, focuses at the front, much more like a rifle scope. The Swarovski focuses right at the ocular. That little thing turns, that's your focus. This tube will turn, but it doesn't make any difference. And nothing happens at the front at all. The Zeiss is a smaller diameter. Can't think if it's 60 or 65. I think it's 65, I'll check. But it's very compact, as you'll see in the comparisons later. Very light, armoured, good looking, feels really, really nicely made. You know, it's lovely. Nice eyepiece cup on there, and that rotates to focus it. I really like it. It's got really good scope caps as well. Really long, really rubbery, really not going to go anywhere, you know. Really like them. Simple and effective. Then we've got the CTS, which is the bigger Swaro, 2 sections of extension, 85mm, and a choice of eyepieces, this being the 20 to 50 wide. This means it's twice as much money as these others here. Okay, we're getting into more money. I think the body's 1,200 quid and the eyepiece is 500, that neck of the woods, whereas this Swaro sort of, I think, you know, it depends where you are and what deals you get, but call it 750 quid. Zeiss is about the same, 850. So that is a lot more money. So it needs to be real good. It is also getting on for being a lot bulkier. And whilst it folds up and that's useful, you're getting on into full spotting scope territory here. So it'll be interesting to see what they did. Okay, here are my impressions over several months of testing and resolution chart testing, use at night, portability, waterproofness, lens coatings. I have really given these a good use. Okay, bottom line is a fixed eye cup, fixed mag, will always give better field of view than the equivalent magnification in a zoom eyepiece, however good. So, magnification does not dictate what field of view you get. It is separate and movable. Okay, obviously the more you zoom in, the less field of view you get, but that's the only rule. Indeed, you get as much field of view at 30 times out of this fixed Swaro as you do out of this at 18 times. Okay, so bear that in mind. That's really important when you're scanning on the hill. So, 30 times mag here, fixed focus. How does it do? Not fixed focus, fixed mag. It is very impressive, this CTC. I can't believe how good it is. It has got great resolution. The edge-to-edge resolution, sharpness are Premier League, and the image jumps out at you. It's got that classic Swarovski pop. It's contrasty, saturated, really vibrant image. And there are people, particularly with rifle scopes, who prefer a neutral image. I think I might be one of them. I own a Zeiss rifle scope and a Swarovski rifle scope and a Zeiss and other things that are flatter, and you know, you take your pick as to what type of image you prefer. You often think that a punchy saturated image is better, that you somehow got more detail, but you don't. So anyway, it is that type of image, very, 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 very full on. For scanning and searching a hillside, it is really perfect because the 30 times mag is just right, combined with, and more importantly, the field of view, which is excellent. It really is a wonderful thing. It hoovers the light in. It is almost flawless. I also, Swarovski will love this, dropped it in a muddy puddle. When I got it out of the puddle, I sprayed the objective with 3-in-1 gun oil, which is obviously oily, to test the Swaro Clean coatings. to check whether it would mist and streak. Then to get the oil off, I flushed it with a cup of tea, and then I carried on using it. No problems, no smearing, nada. Now that is a tough test. So you can take it out into the field, get it soaked and misty and horrible, and it will do what you need it to do. Quality, really like it. Good bargain too, and it is genuinely compact when you fold it up. So that begs the question, how does the CTS do with its 20 to 50 mag range, its bigger objective? This thing should be unbelievable, right? Well, first off, let's just look at the eyepiece here on the CTC. This eyepiece gives a lovely unfussy eye box, and you find that what you do is you rest the eyepiece in your eye socket. In other words, your eyebrow is above it. It's resting on the sort of the bone above your eye. It sits in there nicely, and you can almost hold it on the tripod as you scan around, and it will pan without you having to worry about your eye box, which of course is a crucial thing when you're panning. Now, the eye cup and the eye box that the scope delivers to you with this CTS is even bigger and more impressive. It's stunning, but physically the eye cup is much larger, and you can't get it in the same quite comfortable place as the CTC. So you have to have your hand there, just there, to sort of hold it. And we're just talking about ergonomics here. That is your zoom ring, not your focus ring. And you focus by turning the whole of this tube left and right, the whole of it, using that ring, which is attached to this. And it is slightly less fluid and straightforward, and when you're scanning, it just ties you up a little bit. And the eye box is so big that you have to almost find the middle of it. So it just doesn't quite suit my eye quite as well. But image-wise, returning to the image, yeah, it's big, bright. Field of view is good. The field of view on this at 25 is the same as the CTC on 30. So given the losses inherent in a zoom eyepiece, that's pretty impressive. The Zeiss indeed is beaten at 18 times. So, that's a pretty good eyepiece we've got here. We've paid £500 for it, but it's pretty impressive, those specifications. Now, another thing that's worth bearing in mind here is, as you zoom in, if you can't see something because you haven't got the resolution, there is enough mist or shimmer or whatever in the air in the 800 yards you're looking across, that you can't quite perceive the difference between a molehill and a rabbit. Well, magnification will not ever solve that problem. You need enough mag to see what you're doing, but it does not gain you resolution. So if you can't see it at 30 times, 35, 150 times isn't going to help you, because you're just magnifying the issue. So I am not inherently convinced that more magnification is key. Obviously it's a big selling point, but in the real world, if you can't make out what you need to make out and you zoom in, you can't see it any clearer. So bearing that in mind, is this CTS worth paying for what we do? And indeed, is the magnification range, the 18 to 45 on the Zeiss, sharp all the way through? Does the mag range work well? The answer on the CTS here is yes, really. The resolution charts that I ran, the resolution tests that I ran in good light, enabled more to be seen as you progressively went up the mag. In other words, the resolution holds on as you zoom in, and it is a very impressive eyepiece. It is sometimes you get a 20 to 50 eyepiece, and it just kills the scope. It can't get the resolution it needs for the magnification to be relevant. But the CTS copes very well. You're talking about effectively zero chromatic aberration. You're talking about grey edge-to-edge sharpness as you zoom in. It is really, really very impressive. What it isn't is better, both with regard to resolution, field of view, anything, than the baby brother. The smaller, more compact, half price, wide-angled, easy to focus, tough CTC. This is a firm favourite. CTS is impressive. If you need 50 times mag and you've got good light, you can zoom in with this and wow, it is brilliant. It gives nothing away, but it isn't better at scanning the hill or spotting 1,000-yard bullet strikes in the mud than the CTS. It is impressive in itself that the resolution is as good as the CTC, believe it or not, because of the compromises made when you have to use all the extra lenses inside an eyepiece that is a zoom eyepiece. So it is mighty impressive. But for the money and the size, I'd probably buy a spotting scope, a full spotting scope. It's just a little bit too bulky. I love it, but this thing is a great compromise, in that there aren't any compromises made. The brightness is as good, the resolution is as good, and this isn't entirely subjective. You know, I've done resolution tests very carefully. This is as good. It's slightly easier to pan with and to get comfortable on, which really is important. It's easier to focus, smaller. I like it very, very much. It's a complete bargain. Now, the Zeiss is interesting. It's a different concept to these two Swaros in, as I said earlier, it is much more normal. Focus at the front, zoom at the back, rubber extended eye cup, you know, how hard can it be? Well, the Zeiss is interesting. It's at a disadvantage initially to the Swaros because it has a flat and neutral image. It does not pop out, it does not look impressive in that contrasty way that some optics have. However, when you start to, and the field of view isn't in the same league. The field of view is not, it's not there. It's smaller and more compact, and the field of view is, it's noticeably smaller. But then again, there are noticeable advantages. It's kind of, you make your choices. If you want something this small, no, that's a 4x40 rifle scope. You see what I mean? This thing's tiny. It's really impressive. You've got a 45 times zoom in there. So, it is a bit less impressive visually initially. It doesn't have that pop, but that's just the type of lenses. It scored very well on my resolution chart in good light. It is excellent at spotting bullet holes in targets. You get no fringing, no CA. Optically, it's very impressive. And it looks almost better as you zoom up the mag range. It really hangs in there. A lot of these zooms, you zoom up and you get halfway up them, and then you're just winning nothing more with regard to resolution and visibility. Frankly, you're just not winning. Say you've got a 20 to 50. Most of them, their peak resolution's at 25 times, and that's your lot really. You don't get any more. It might as well be a fixed 25 with half as much field of view. So this zoom, when you start to really zoom in and test it out, it is impressive. If you wanted to take this in your range bag, shoot some 500-yard bullet holes with a 6mm, you're going to be able to see them. You're not going to get any fringing. The quality of the optics as you zoom in is great. It must be said, for my purposes, it isn't the one for me, because my purposes are not looking at long range, high mag, bullet holes in white paper. It's a lot of people's prerogative, but not mine. What I need is something I can sit down with, scan a distant hillside, and have rabbits pop out. And I really need that. I really need that contrasty, punchy image, so that I can discern shapes and colours and detail. And the Zeiss is frankly much poorer at that. But that is not a testament as to its quality optically. It's very impressive. It really is. It's just, and it's a good bargain, and it's versatile because it's got the zoom, and you know, it really is great. Fully waterproof, obviously super tough. There's no risks as to, you know, opening it up as a draw tube design and sucking moist air in or whatever. You know, it's sealed, it's tough, it's good to go. But it isn't a long-range binocular replacement. It isn't a big field of view, sharp, edge-to-edge, all punchy, so that you can pan about and spot rabbits. It's just not its forte. It's fine, but it's not as good as these two Swaros. When you stick it in your rucksack, lean on a rock, and zoom in on a you know, a long distance deer to tell details, which one to cull or something like that, or if you're looking at long range bullet holes, you want to zoom in and know it's going to maintain its sharpness, you can count on this size all day long for that. It's really impressive because it's so small. Comfortable ergonomics. I really do like it, but for me, for my purposes, long range varminting as a scanner, the CTC is a clear winner. Very cheap, unbelievable optical performance. The Swaro Clean coatings do help repel mud and grime and tea and oil, and I really do like it very much. And it's when you fold it up, it's really compact. So I think for me, the winner in this test, thanks to all the participants, all of these have their strengths. All of them I would recommend if you carefully assess what your needs are. But for me, the CTC is absolutely brilliant. I don't think I'll want to give it back. There we go. Thanks, guys.